perhaps the best year last year, and is certainly in the discussion if you don't agree with that, versus Minchul, who is historically one of the biggest earners and biggest names in all of StarCraft. Kind of a godfather to a lot of players, and just a special, awesome guy. So what a treat to be able to cast this match and be here at this stage. Really, really awesome to see both these players here.
Yeah, very interested to see how these guys play. Some Legacy of the Void PvP. In the top right, of course, we have MC. And if you look at his Twitter, it's streamer MC. He's been streaming. He actually, I think he's done 2 runs now, where he's gone to top 16 Gemon Korea. I think he's got like his next stream crazy plans. I'm gonna get #1. He's a hard worker, cool dude. And of course, in the bottom left, we have SOS. Believe is still with Jin Air Green Wings. As you said, BlizzCon champion.
One of the most difficult opponents you could possibly face. He has very finely tuned builds. This is not necessarily a super freestyle player. Like, well, he does get into freestyle mode, but for the most part, he goes into each game, I think, I believe I can credit Rotterdam with this comment as saying that he feels like he has kind of a pre-planned build and plays around that. And I feel like that's pretty aptly true. And you can see he's actually fully walled in, gets the probe out, gonna scout around. So this is, of course, geared towards preventing adepts from doing any damage at all. Of course, they do very little damage to buildings, and it's not likely that they're gonna hammer through that. But again, just talking about both of these guys, I mean, Minchul, I'm shying away from saying he's earned the most, but I think he might be the highest earner in StarCraft 2. But if not, top 5, top 3.
I think he's there. I was just looking at it recently.
Big deal. He did say he's kind of given up pro gaming, going into streaming. But what's kind of cool about a lot of these guys is sometimes when you take the pressure off the shoulders and they're able to kind of play it their own way, sometimes it's usually the consistency that falls off, but you'll see them peak and do fairly well. I think Stefano's another player you can kind of look back to who had a moment of time there where he's like, I'm not playing as much. I barely practiced for this tournament. And then he would go and crush it and do really well. And we've seen, of course, that's not the norm. It's not normal to be like, I'm going to take StarCraft less serious, and then everyone does better. But some guys, MC being up there, they can do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely not something for everyone to do. No. You know, practice is certainly a very important part of being a professional gamer. But MC moving out. So like you already pointed out that he's got the solid setup here with that adept blocking wall, as it were. As he's got a probe out on the map anyway.
And this is interesting. We're actually not seeing a tech path out of Minchul just yet, MC. He's just kind of focusing. He is going to have the adept out there. But SOS, if he's known for anything, by the way, it is absolutely his Dark Templar play. It's like kind of comical. A lot of people are like, it's ridiculous how many times you'll see Dark Templar. But hey man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Dark Templar in all 3 matchups will win you games. Absolutely. Just off the RNG of whatever build they're doing. But this is going to be a proxy robo, which actually in a lot of ways, Nate, can be bad. Look at how fast that Dark Shrine is. It's about to finish, and the observers can be built from across the map.
Yeah, and at the same time, SOS, he gets that adept into the natural of MC, picks off a probe, gets to scout a little bit. The Shade not seeing anything particular, so maybe he's concerned. He's like, well, what are you cheesing me with? He's got his own robo on the way. You said it, the Dark Shrine's about to finish. He's got a pylon.
But it's a little bit ill-timed if we're going to be pretty critical of ourselves. Ooh. Ideally, this is a pylon and also a gateway. Of course, it will end up just being a pylon, and the Dark Templar, it's going to take 16 seconds to warp in, but whatever.
For an Immortal, too. It's going to take him so long.
Yeah.
I mean, this should be game-ending, no? Like, the game should be over right here.
It is, unfortunately. MC's going to, well, it is.
I mean, he proxy roboed against a Dark Templar rush.
What's going to happen is MC's going to have a sizable force over here anchored by at least an Immortal, maybe 2. And he's going to have the ability to make an observer, so it could be a base trade situation. But I feel like it would be really incredible if SOS didn't have enough at home to at least slow down that attack and make it so that it is not enough.
And this is just brutal right now. The DT's getting in, slicing and dicing every probe. There's not much he can do. He's going to make that attack.
This is the big moment. So he's going to pick off that pylon. Oh, but he pulls back, and I feel like
he's got enough to overcharge another pylon as well.
He's just going to keep warping in sentries. It's over. So I understand MC's angle. He's like, well, I got to play this real safe because if I lose this force, I'm dead. But unfortunately for him, it was always about just killing it. He needed to kill that pylon and the one other pylon immediately, and that was his only chance, his only shot in hell. But unfortunately, that's not panning out. He's cleaning it up.
He's losing all his probes. I mean, MC's army manages to get inside of SOS's base. He's going to pull the probes here, and I mean, at this point, I guess he does have his own observer. I mean, if he got MC's observer, then he could just whip in DTs, but he's got 2 observers here now. But
Partition's
now,
off.
SOS has his own immortal, right?
Yeah.
So this should be basically it. He's done. He's done it. He's unpowered the gates. GG. SOS takes the first map.
And it's just a little bit of you has to not necessarily roll your eyes, but shake your head and be like, how?
Ruins of Ceres. We are loaded in. Currently leading 1-0. SOS in the bottom right. And a nice spot to start this series off on. Getting that quick, cheeky win, of course. And Legacy of the Void, the game ramps up so fast. It also ends pretty fast.
The haunting win, too. That going mega fast DT like that is going to be in the back of MC's mind for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I guess it kind of, it's one of those things where it's like you're up against SOS, so you're like, oh, I should have this in the back of my mind, but maybe, well, then, then we go back to your logic, which is, well, he knows that I should expect it, so he won't do it, and then he, you could just go back and forth on that forever.
Yeah.
He knows that I'll think that he knows that I know.
It's just a great opening build, though, because even if it doesn't work out in a best of 5, it still sends information to your opponent, so it kind of factors into what builds they want to do. It makes them feel a little bit more risky about perhaps doing the same build. And it just kind of works in your favor both ways. Like, obviously getting the win is the ultimate goal, but even if you don't win, that kind of opening kind of throws your opponent off. Like, if you just open up Nexus first or Gateway Nexus followed by Robo, like very safe, very studious, that also sends... I mean, this is StarCraft. There's like so many messages you're sending, of course, but my point is it sends a much more tepid message. Like, I'm going to receive you, and it gives you kind of a more confident feeling about doing Radical Open.
So tell me about this opening a little bit. We have double gateway with the cybernetics core. Definitely not as economic. Is this because they can't block the natural off with the pylons like they did in the last map, or what?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Nathaniel. The idea here, of course, is going to be an adept or 2, hoping to do quite a bit of damage at the mineral line. But as you said, the nice thing about that is a lot of times if you couldn't do that damage, well, you were dead because they have that expansion and they're just so far ahead. But on this map, walling off that natural is really not a realistic thing you can do. And again, because of Photon Overcharge being a little bit more expensive, it's also not like you can just absolutely annihilate and shut down adepts. All of a sudden, it takes several Photon Overcharges that you don't have anymore. So just a very solid opening.
So SOS is going to open with double Stalker, with that Mothership Core coming out faster for MC. They're both going double Stalker. So is this meant to counter the adept play, or
it's meta opening? And it snowballs. So, like, let's say the guy does go 2 adepts and expands behind that and then does some kind of tech, Stargate or Robo. Well, if you show up with 6 Stalkers, a single pylon is not going to hold it off, and you can't actually kill those adepts in enough time that all of a sudden their opening is thwarted. They don't have any force to defend against you, and you're now punishing them.
So, he canceled. Oh, no, he finished. He's not building anymore. Okay. I
tech behind that.
I didn't see the Stalkers come out. I was almost panicking for a second.
It happens to the best of us, Nathaniel. But MC is actually chrono boosting his warp gate upgrade. It is SOS doing the same. We can go into the base.
They're very close for both players.
They both are. So pretty much exactly the same build so far.
Yeah, very. So what does this just come down to micro, right? And it looks like the shields are being traded evenly on both Stalkers. First, real damage being taken. You cast this. You're
it's just...
Oh!
Watching 2 beautiful players, a little bit of a slight misstep there. But
first blood for SOS.
Nexus down at the exact same time as well, which is actually kind of a scary Nexus because both these players, and 2, now that is interesting. Sentries. On a wide ramp like that, like obviously you want at least 1 sentry fairly early on, not for defensive capabilities, but because you want to throw hallucination. You'll notice both these builds don't have a Robo, they don't have a Stargate. There's the Robo at the exact same time, but that's quite a bit of a late Robo. Neither of these players know what their opponent's doing. But because their Stalkers dueled in the middle of the map, because the probe did scout in there and they kind of saw not an immediate tech, they're basically going off intuition and instinct. This is probably one of the more dominant I just combined dominant and, anyways, common builds on the Korean server in particular amongst the top players. The difference here is we do see that MC is going to be going for a faster Twilight Council, but also the 2 sentries, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
You can't force fill that ramp.
You said it already with being able to throw out a hallucination to scout later on, but yeah, force field is definitely not that much of an option.
Yeah, it's a little bit curious. And actually, if we can get a look at MC's base real quick, I want to see that pylon towards the natural if we could. No, so it's not even on the ramp. So I just flat out don't understand.
Yep. SOS is going to push in here. The sentries in the back, tagging a little bit, but I guess that lack of high ground vision, he takes that first shot, and he's just going to step off.
Yep.
As Blink starts up for MC, and where will MC?
An Immortal coming out
Whoa.
from SOS. He cancels, goes for the Observer. A little bit concerned that he's going to get a retaliatory. And he has 3 sentries. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Oh, he just takes the third base.
And that's a very fast third base. And just now is adding his own Twilight Council. So he will, of course, tech the Blink as well. Immortals, by the way, are in an interesting spot in PvP because Disruptors make them pretty much useless, but that's a stage away, but not too far away. So it's kind of a... Stalkers dominate the early to mid-game part of PvP in most standard games, so that's where the Immortals really shine. But they immediately become quite bad when Disruptors come out. So a lot of players are trying to, like, they're feeling out their comfort zone of like, okay, well, I'm going to skip Immortals to go really fast Disruptors, which is quite bad against super mass Blink Stalkers. But if I can get to the Disruptor Blink Stalker stage, now I'm advantage, whereas the other guy was slowed down by having a lot of Blink Stalkers, but then making Immortals. So it's kind of an uncomfortable give and take, and perhaps that's why we're seeing several sentries. Of course, it's not necessarily for the force field. It's to be on top of, are you going Disruptors, or are the two of us going to have an arms race of Immortals?
Yeah. It's the Disruptors are really such a volatile thing to throw into a matchup like PvP, where the unit count is pretty much always what's determined who wins, whereas now it's more like, can you get into a good position versus the Disruptors? And, you know, there's also like that kind of like, kind of, I don't know, gamble you can make with Blink Stalkers and Disruptors. Like if you want to blink in and try to snipe a Disruptor while you're throwing yours, and et cetera, there's such a level of dynamics added by that. But without a robo-base for either side, it's just Immortals and Stalkers versus Immortals and Stalkers.
And MC's going for it, by the way. 4 Gateway's about to finish up behind this. A Warp Prism coming out. He's already pushing across the map. The forward forces of SOS did spot this out, so he's coming back to kind of defend. But all of a sudden, that third base becomes a bit of a liability, especially if he wants to defend out on the map. But if MC pushes too early and loses too many of his forces, he will just die, because this third base is the gambit, so to speak. It's either the winning or losing choice.
It's what he's made the plays in this game for.
Oh, he's already here
early on, and now the army is here. He's going to overcharge one pylon as he starts the warp ins by that Nexus, getting a little bit of damage done here. He's going to force field in some of the sentries and the Immortals, trying to make a play here. He does have one of the Immortals locked in as it triggers that barrier ability of it. And now, without Immortal going down, SOS has the Immortal lead. Can he defend this base, though, Jeff?
Warp Prism here is going to allow him to warp in. Actually, if he kills that pylon, there'll be no warp in on this location. And I think he's actually waiting for him to try a warp in, which is pretty cool. SOS already on top of that decision by warping in over it as natural, which is the further away choice, but the safer one. MC microing back beautifully. The two Immortals, as you said, though, dealing out so much damage. One Immortal is about to die, and it does. Good concave for MC. MC is down in supply overall, but I think part of that is actually Harvesters blinking back, but there's just, and now the Photon Overcharge, he does have to pick off that pylon, and he does.
And
that being said,
the Nexus
though,
too, really important as well. So
yeah,
he does make sure that despite all of this, they're both on 2 bases. He's going to continue to warp in, try to apply more and more
I love
pressure
this choice
and finish his
from
opponent off.
SOS had a comparable army. Oh my god, 2 Immortals joined this, by the way, becoming much more powerful. MC's going to be just happy with this little win and pull back. But SOS says, you know what? With you picking off the Nexus, why am I fighting here? He pulls back. He might have had a slightly stronger army before those 2 Immortals joined, but with the 2 Immortals, he certainly has the stronger army.
Yeah.
So he just pulls back knowing he doesn't need to fight in that location.
Oh, he blinks back.
Blink forward.
Trying to get the Immortals, does not manage to nab
Oh my
one
god, but it's such a crazy choice because there's Blink Stalkers right there as well. So that Blink is going to cost him. These Stalkers are chasing him down, and there's just not enough space for MC Stalkers to get too far away, because if they go in on those blue Stalkers of SOS, they're going to face 3 Immortals, which will dice him up in no time at all. So MC takes a crazy choice. He's waiting for these pylons to finish. He's going to have a lot of Photon Overcharge. And a huge Sentry Warp in back at home again for SOS. I would love your guys' comments. I mean, I don't pretend to know everything, but it is very curious. He has a lot of gas and low on minerals, so that's what he's doing, I guess, but...
Interesting. He's sending him right across the map. He has a Dark Shrine on the way as well with the Warp Prism. So opening up the door for some harass-based play without having to do the direct assault. But if you can distract him long enough, I mean, could do quite a bit of damage. He's getting pylons out here as well.
Yeah, he's taking his third behind this, so it's not like this is an all-in of any sort. And the little time that he did have with that third Nexus meant that he's doing pretty good on Harvesters. He's actually only up 3. Which is interesting. So a lot of this is army supply. And here come the sentries. They're going to try to capture these Immortals, so that is what they're going to do. picking off one very cost effectively, another Stalker on the wrong side of those force fields. So my question's answered. They're just for positional battle, and it's beautiful to see. Again, I guess part of the reason why I have a tough time with them is because, again, disruptors, the second they come out, those become completely useless.
MC also has no observers on the map, so as this Dark Shrine finishes up, it's also highly possible that the addition of Dark Templar really hurt him quite a bit. He's warping in his first one. Finally, another observer starts up, but
and it's
something to be worried about.
Not a gateway pylon, so it's going to take a while. I love this observer, by the way, from MC that's like so MC. He just has a good intuition about him. He's like, you know what? I'm noticing an observer above my army. I don't have detection. I should get an observer, and it's going to come out in just the right time. That being said, though, this War Prism is in the base. MC senses it. He kind of, maybe he learned his lesson from that first game.
I like it only drops one in. He wants to test the water, see what's there. 3 DTs can do a lot, but with the observer now being out, it's possible things get tricky. But he could be usually trying to force a big warp in home and then maybe make his push, or force him to blink some units back inside of his main base and then attack. He is peeling off a few Stalkers, trying to get that DT. Is SOS gonna force it now, though? That's the big question.
And now the DT goes into third. Like, MC was caught in a tough spot. One observer just simply not enough. He's actually making immortals off the Robo, by the way, just settling for the one observer, and he's losing everything. The Mothership Core is on the edge of its life. Maybe not going to die necessarily, but these force fields are beautiful. We're seeing the living action of why these guys chose to warp in as many sentries as they did. 15 probes dying at all 3 Nexi. Behind this, I think the main was closed up, but at what cost, Nathaniel? The age-old question.
He had to buy it at a high price, I would say, in Control.
Blood.
He's been taking a beating, and that War Prism is still lurking about outside of his base. We have the Robo Bay coming in for SOS. I think if you're in this position and he starts to get disruptors here, then
he can make anything he wants.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's in such a good spot.
Disruptors, of course, the good late game choice here.
And force fields in, another Immortal picks it.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I was really wondering what these guys were about, but both these players knew it was going to come down to Blink Stalker Micro anchored by Immortals, and that's where the sentries really shine.
That was really nice being able to pinch those forces in. Another DT getting warped inside of the main base. Another one aimed at the natural expansion, and he's just picking MC apart. MC can't handle it. There's just too much pressure. Yeah. GG. SOS takes the second map in this best of 5.
And to give credit where credit's due, so a lot of people saw with that Robo, MC just kept making Immortals, and in the back of all of our minds, probably, then all of a sudden those 3 DTs become a really big cost. And it's really, we've seen Protoss flip their advantages on their head because they spend too much on that. But just beautiful play for both players.
DT's very expensive, but got a lot of value out of them so far in this best of 5.
Yeah.
This blue Protoss on the top right. SOS. Okay. I believe you said it earlier.
Man.
I was like, yeah, okay, DT's okay. But I think anyone in the chat who disagrees with you, Jeff, has been proved a fool.
Well, they all know
You
it.
know SOS loves DTs.
If he doesn't open with them, it's like the fallback to everything. Stargate, okay, well, DTs are next. Robo, okay, fine, but DTs are next. DTs, sure, but then
DTs are next. Yeah. That's a fun way to play StarCraft. Because usually like the Dark Templar play, or at least like in other matchups, comes in. It's either the focus of your play with either like a rush, or it's I probably can't win this game anymore. Let's just make DTs and just hope for the best. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you just lose.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you do. If you do the opening of DT, like we saw in game number 1, and MC's just sitting there with an observer, just great. It's tough, because if you are that guy like me that sends in 3 DTs because they're like, I need to win right now, then it can be you're dead. But what I like about SOS so much is that even when it appears to be an all-in, it kind of isn't. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, you killed that first DT.
It's like, I can still work with this.
But leave your army at home. Make cannons, because if you don't, the DTs will come back, and they will get their cost one way or another. They're going to get their pound of flesh.
He's very good at utilizing them in this matchup, it seems. SOS with the block off again, saying, nope, not coming inside. And similarly, we have
guess
MC.
What? MC will make a Robo or a Stargate. Like 1,000%. He is like Pavlov's dog in train right now, that when he sees it closed off like that, against maybe any other Protoss, he'd be like, no way would they go Dark Templar again. This is to trick me. But against SOS, he's like, he thinks I'll think that he's not going DTs, but I know he's going DTs, so he'll be ready.
Yeah, and it's still this setup with 2 gateways, though, from MC. So is he looking to just apply direct pressure? I mean, this probe is actually...
He's got to be careful, though.
He's taking the shields off this pylon.
Yeah, he's going to pull it back.
Oh, my goodness.
It's his only probe.
He's
So now what he's saying is, if this is your only Stalker coming out, my Mothership Core is going to actually make it across the map, and I'm going to have Stalkers there, too. So if this is the only gateway, you're in trouble.
And it is the only gateway. He doesn't have any other production. He's going to start up another one. And I guess what? You just kill the... What's the focus here? Break the pylon, get inside, kill the core? Where do you go with this?
Make this game weird. Yeah, I mean, at best, he does break it in there. You're going to see a photon overcharge in a second because SOS is panicking. He doesn't know how close his mothership core is. He needs to kill that pylon right now. He will kill that pylon, but that photon overcharge is his only one for now.
Yeah, it's nice
Oh,
that...
he waited, though. He did wait.
It's nice that he was patient with it because he has it now for when these stalkers arrive.
Yeah,
but
he needed to be patient.
there's still, there's more pylons. There's at least one full health pylon he'll be able to use, and there's the first overcharge. He's about 12 seconds away from his next one, and there's the overcharge
Could
from
pick up
SOS.
He does pick up the mothership core.
Nice grab. Immediately rebuilding it, it'll actually spawn with enough energy to overcharge again.
Yeah, that's the upside there.
It's like the only good thing about losing your mothership core is that it actually just gets energy faster than waiting for it in real time.
Now, keep in mind, this warp gate upgrade is now actually being powered by one pylon.
He is going... Yeah, that's true. He is going to build 2 gateways outside of his opponent's base and another pylon.
Okay, so it is getting super weird, by the way.
MC's putting it all in here, boys.
And his own warp gate is finished, so he's going to be able to warp in here in a second.
Weird is the only way I can describe this. So
I love it.
It's nice to be able to get warp gate, that's for sure. Losing that would have been possibly game losing here.
It's one of the best ways to deal with someone that's a lot... Oh, and the stalker actually warps in on the... Or comes out on the wrong side.
But there's no overcharge. He has a stalker count lead. If all the stalkers are shooting at once, which they are, should be favorable for SOS, no?
I mean, it worked out okay because of the reasons you just stated, but he would have ideally preferred it on the other side.
Fair enough. So Mothership Core finally close to getting another overcharge. He's got 2 warp gates, literally outside of his base. I mean, they're...
Oh, you can't do that, Pylon MC. That is...
MC,
well, that was aggressive.
Desperation coming out of MC here.
That was a bit aggressive.
I mean, no natural. I think he canceled that to go
and
for
he's
this
going to lose the motion support here, too, which gives him his spotting. So
no more high ground vision, and there's a sentry, so he's going to be able to pick off a couple extra stalkers here, locking him in, and he has that overcharge available as well. And these stalkers are both going to die.
Yeah, a couple of very sloppy choices. To lose the probe to that kind of a pylon, very curious. Going up the ramp at all without being able to spot high ground because he lost the mothership core, also
and
curious.
SOS has an immortal on the way too, so that's going
to shut it down.
That's going to be the get out of this game immortal.
And now, by the way, all of a sudden going up this ramp is like the scariest thing on planet Earth each time.
Because the sentries, he's got another sentry.
A sentry and then the photon overcharge, and this is bad.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. She's making Zealots to sandwich him in here as well.
Yep, he's moving in now as well. The Zealots are here at the top of the ramp trying to help push this back. There's that force field, overcharge enabled, and bye-bye Stalkers. It's like this phenomenal defense from SOS.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Really cool use of the Adept, actually. He let it finish, so it ends up being bad, but had he just used the Shade to spot for high ground, he can actually always cancel that, and the cooldown's so short that you're basically able to see up there for free. Yeah. But again, MC kind of mis-executes and loses
shout out to these guys for keeping all the action in one spot. Makes it pretty much easier to observe.
Yes. I mean, subtle things are being done in the background, like Robos were added, but now Immortals are coming out. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, Immortal, right? So breaking this, no upgrades, with no real tech, like, it's not possible. And consider that there's 2 mineral lines available for SOS. If these guys just trade it even forever and ever, that main's going to mine out. And MC will be long-distance mining his natural before we see, you know, anything else happen here.
No, he's super all-in. No natural for him. Yeah, you just gave us a shot of SOS's natural. I was like, huh, he's not really saturated there, but MC
he
doesn't have any saturation.
Yeah. It's a bold play made here by MC, but it doesn't seem to have paid off. I mean, SOS is just in such a good spot.
Adams in the natural.
The Adams did get into the natural, so he gets a few probes here. It's something.
It's something. But it ain't much. What MC needs now is for SOS to make this incredibly weird choice.
To just move down his ramp for no reason.
And he gets force fielded off, yeah. But now he has an observer. He sees everything. He could even probably make the decision to throw a hallucination to MC and just confirm. Just be like, oh, okay, you haven't expanded. So I actually just sit here making sentries and immortals.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to do the PvT thing, right? Where he just uses these adepts to try to distract, buy time, bring himself back into this game. But there's no coming back into this game by killing probes when you're still on one base.
No, he's just doing what he can. But I mean, each warping is so important too. Like, these adepts are going to kill maybe a probe or 2. But in doing so, they are also warpins that MC desperately needed to have any chance. But I say that as this super, like, optimistic caster. Like, again, SOS has an observer looking at MC's army, and he's just a good enough player to be like, this is all you have. You do not have anything behind this.
Yeah. I mean, SOS just needs to keep holding on, slowly build up more, and I guess, what do you get to end this game? DT, send him across the map? He's going to step up the ramp. He gets force fielded in, Immortal.
Here comes the attack at the ramp. He's going to try, gets the Immortal. and a lot of the teeth has been taken out of this, but keep in mind, a lot of it's actually inside the main of SOS, trying to figure out if that's the more important defense or not. But he has so many force fields, so here we go.
Yeah, now that he's finally catching these Stalkers on the ramp, another Fortune Overcharge is going to get dropped. The Immortal comes back. GG's called. SOS with the 3-0 here.
Pretty cool games. 2 did end with DT, so it's very like...
And you know what?